ご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
懐かしい It's a Japanese word that means nostalgia. And I don't know if it's just me, there just seems to be an obsession about the concept of nostalgia amongst Japanese people. I mean, the sentimentality of the past exists in every culture, I know, but there's just something special about the whole Japanese aesthetic. You know, the sound of the cicadas in the summer, the neon lights, the festivals, the way the houses look, the vending machines, hell, even the way Japanese scripts looks. It's actually one of the reasons that initiated my affinity with Japan. Alright. Enough dramatic, sentimental bullcrap. Sala itne time se video nahi banaya hai ki pata hi nahi chal raha kya bolu. Anyways, this is just gonna be a random video where I'm just gonna go to a few places that give me that retro Japanese vibe, jo ki mere is annoying ass Japanophile gaijin dil ko sukoon de sake. So yeah, come along with me. So I got to know about this place near Tokyo in a small town called Sagamihara, जहाँ पे एक vintage retro machine paradise है. And I instantly wanted to check it out. It was perfect because ये थोड़ा ऐसे tourist area में भी नहीं आता. So I called my friend Akash, who is the only Indian friend I've been able to make in 4 years of living in Japan. I know that is quite shocking, but nevertheless, we got the car out and headed towards this place. Minami Machi. This vending machine park is actually a used tire shop, but this guy, Tatsuhiro Saito, just couldn't see these retro vending machines die and disappear like that.
This is Bonkare. And Bonkare is the world's first 世界で最初のレトルトカレー。ボンカレーは新婚な味。いいよ。世界で一番最初のものがこのボンカレーです。すいません。I'm getting udon. おお。え？うん。ああ。いいじゃん。イエーイ。熱っ。Okay, give me a rating. 2.5 out of 10. But it was my first time to eat vending machine udon, but it's like instant. Yeah, udon. Not bad.これがおみくじを買う機械で100円を入れるとフォーチュンがこうやって出てきます。それでこの上にいっぱいあるこのおみくじたちっていうのは大吉っていうのが一番トップレベル、めちゃくちゃいい運勢で、それ以外のものだとあんまり良くないからここにかけて、で大吉って自分でいいフォーチュンだった場合は自分で持ってるっていうのが、日本の伝統的な考えだからここにみんなかけてってるんだと思います。
मतलब कि ये अनलकी है इसलिए यहाँ पे ऊपर लगा दिया.
All these vending machines are from a really specific era.
In the history of nations, there sometimes occurs a stage which later generations look back to as a golden age.
Well, you see, in Japan, every emperor is given an era name. For instance, if you look at the chronology, right now it's year 6 of the Reiwa era, with the monarch being Emperor Naruhito. But all this retro aesthetic nostalgia stuff refers to the Showa era. which corresponds to the reign of Emperor Hirohito.
It's a time when a nation exerts an influence on its neighbors and on the future far out of proportion to its actual size or wealth. Japan may be entering such a golden age.
Now, a lot happened in one of the longest eras in Japanese history, from the Great Depression to World War II, where Japan was absolutely rocked to its core, and then the subsequent economic miracle.
No nation has ever before achieved such a phenomenal rate of growth. This is perhaps the most extraordinary success story in all recorded economic history.
But if you ask a Japanese person, they would probably cite or talk fondly of the Showa period as the years succeeding the war, particularly from the 60s until the end of the 80s. And now it has become sort of like a commodity in Japan. It has been commercialized, and I can already see slight hints of conspicuous consumption, a lifestyle birthing out of it. Not only amongst the people who have lived through that time, but surprisingly with Gen Xers, with the Gen Z as well. This is apparent in the comeback of city pop music. Many Showa products like televisions, radio cassette players, Showa-themed miniatures, they're all in high demand. Film cameras are back in fashion. Ricoh launched his first Pentax film camera in over 2 decades. So many places, cafes, streets trying to replicate the aesthetics of the Showa period. I went to this place called Daiba Ichome Shotengai, which is again a 1960s, 70s themed shopping district in Tokyo's Bay Area.
私のお母さん、かっこ昭和生まれ、昭和73年かな生まれのお母さんが大好きだったやつで、オリマル。なんかこの先端にこの液をつけて膨らますと、なんていうんだ、ビニールみたいな丸になって、それでポンポンポンポン遊べるみたいな。なんか。
You強っ What do you want to say about your victory? You beat both of us.
まあ練習した甲斐があったっていう感じですごい嬉しいです。はい。
懐かしいね。
Was everything that much better during that time? I guess it doesn't only have to do with the sentimentality with the past, but economically, socially, Japan was way more dynamic than it is today. And it may be true that Japan during Showa was not the perfect place. They had their own problems like poverty, etc. But they had one thing that contemporary Japan does not really have. It was the hope of a bright, promising future. They didn't have much back then. Despite that, they were happy, connected, harmonious, hopeful that good things are about to come.
やっぱり文化とか文明とかがガーッとこう発達する時って何か忘れてくるものがあるんだと思うのね。だからそれがこう人とのつながりとか家族のつながりとかいろんなことがあるんだと思うんだけど、ちょっとそういうことをこう積み残してなんか文明だけが早くに行っちゃったっていうね。
Perhaps contemporary Japan just feels uninspiring compared to its counterpart. This obsession or this Showa nostalgia phenomenon, whatever it is showing this longing for Japan's more dynamic past. And I do personally think nostalgia could be a good thing every now and then. Our brain is naturally hardwired to crave it. You know, sometimes you just want to take a back seat and just look how far you've come, reminisce on the good old days. You know, it could inspire your present and your future, but at the same time, indulging in it without any sort of self-reflection is where it becomes maybe a little bit toxic. I don't know if you watched this Shin-chan movie called Arashi o Yobu Mouretsu, Otona Teikoku no Gyakushu, and where Shin-chan and his family go to this Showa 20th century themed expo, and where all the adults see themselves get stuck in it by becoming children and never wanting to leave. Which reminds me of Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation. Not gonna go into detail, but simulacra, if you didn't know, means a representation or an imitation of something. A perfect example of this that Baudry also talks about in his book are the imaginary theme parks like Disneyland, a perfect play of illusion and a modern mode of escapism. I see Showa nostalgia in a similar light, a theme park where the younger generation who never had a first-hand experience of the era are somehow able to enjoy the ride of nostalgia. They were not even born at that time and yet they feel familiar, lining up to enjoy the hope that bonded people together and experience something that their generation does not have. Look at this survey that found less than 10% of the young Japanese respondents thought that their own country will get better in the future. The lack of an optimistic outlook is apparent. I do not see a massive problem in this longing for the past and the aesthetics and all that jazz, but if it is holding Japan back, that is where the problem arises. And like all theme parks, at the end of the day, you need to go back home. And the next morning, you have to do the same boring, monotonous stuff over and over again. And for all I know, one day you just end up reinventing yourself.